Hi, Lou here, and I like games of military strategy, which maybe is one reason why I have a PhD in military history. I don't know. Um, but unfortunately, I'm not sure that modern game players are very good at military strategy. Then again, in World War II, there's lots of examples of poor grand strategy, especially on the Axis side. For example, and these are usually problems of patience, but not always. The Axis could have held up the invasion of the Soviet Union for a year, especially after they had to go down into the Balkans, and focus their power in the Mediterranean and given Rommel what he needed and especially the logistics that he needed so that he could have conquered Egypt and gone on and conquered the Middle East and ultimately perhaps threatened India and threatened the Caucasus, the southern part of the Soviet Union, which is where the Soviet oil was. But instead, they invaded the Soviet Union in late June, and you know the rest of the story. They ran out of time to capture Moscow in the winter and then got in a very long war. The Japanese, too, had a failure of patience, but perhaps a little more justified because they were having resource problems when the Allies, I guess you could say, cut off oil shipments from the East Indies. The Japanese had to do something. Unfortunately, what they did was not real clever. They attacked Pearl Harbor, and if they had been really lucky, maybe they would have got some American aircraft carriers. But the one thing they should have been certain of was that once they surprise attacked Pearl Harbor, the Americans were all in until the Japanese were done. And that was the last thing they wanted. They wanted the Americans to be tired of a war that was a long way away and finally just give up and acquiesce to what the Japanese needed. And they did exactly the thing that made sure that couldn't happen. So that's a serious failure in grand strategy. Now, we're in the age of instant gratification. People want to see results now. Patience is not a virtue anymore. So in games, people are more likely to make these mistakes of being impatient than perhaps might have happened 50 years ago. I don't know. Certainly, patience is one of the most important components of military strategy and one that's often not there. Thanks for listening.